Jigsaw Theatre Company presents People in Masks, the word face.
Too many times.
The figure 2, a boy runs.
Come face to face.
One figure in a mask is pushed onto the floor, another leans over and pours crisps over the fallen figure's head. A masked figure is shoved.
The victimisation.
The bullying.
And cowers.
Coming soon.
What's going on you?
A wheelchair-bound woman with red hair, a diamond ear stud and a full sad face mask on sits with a towel over her shoulders. She switches on a radio. Upstairs, also in a mask, a boy stirs in bed but doesn't rise. His mother runs water into a basin of dishes and looks up at the ceiling. 2 slices of bread sit in a toaster. The boy's mother lowers them into the machine. Upstairs, the boy lies still in bed. His mother becomes agitated. The exterior of a detached house with trees and a drive. Inside the house, in a smart kitchen, another masked mother in a wheelchair takes a teapot to a table, while upstairs, her daughter, wearing a face mask, lies in bed and reflects. She remembers running out through an open gateway and along a pavement, being chased by the boy. The girl runs along a canal-side path, the boy gaining on her. He runs up onto a bridge and looks down at the water. The girl, hidden from his sight, races out from under the bridge along the towpath and out onto the road. She hides behind a low wall. The boy runs onto the road and jumps over a wall at right angles to the one shielding the girl. He lands on broken glass. The girl runs off in another direction. The boy kicks a can. The girl speeds into an empty children's playground. So does her pursuer. He climbs up a wooden step frame, then charges after the girl.
No. Please, no.
He stands on a merry-go-round looking for her.
Please, no more. Please, no. Please, stop. Please, stop. Please.
The boy and a dog both chase the girl as she runs towards a housing estate. The girl is now in her bed. Her mother switches on a light, then moves over to her daughter. The mother gently shakes the bed and the girl turns to see a teddy bear in a leather flying jacket. The girl rouses herself and clambers out of bed. In the more cluttered kitchen of the boy's house, a pan and a plastic jug are amongst the items in the basin in the sink. The clock reads 2 minutes to 6.
Tony, will you get up?
Tony lies still. He ignores his alarm. A skateboard's on the floor and a magazine featuring footballer Quinton Fortune. Tony switches off the alarm. Downstairs, his mother looks at the clock.
If you don't calm down this minute, I'll smack you so hard you won't sit down for a week.
Tony is a thin, scrawny boy, his ribs poking out. His pyjama top is unbuttoned as he rises, crosses to the window and opens the curtains. He steps back and sits on the bed. In the kitchen, his mother waits for the toast. In her bedroom, the girl opens the slatted blinds on the window. Later, she studies a photograph on a mirrored dressing table. It's of her standing in a field in front of an ancient ruined building. She picks up the photograph and recalls walking across the fallen autumn leaves on her way to the old ruin, which has a high turret tower. She strides up to the ruin and stops at a steep incline leading to an arched stone doorway. Carefully, she picks her way down to the entrance and walks under the arch into what was once a circular room. She spins round, her arms spread out horizontally like the wings on a bird. She twirls in a dizzy fashion, the sky and the almost leafless trees visible to her through the open roof. Rain now falls and she crouches in a corner, the hood on her jacket pulled up over her head. She stares up at the grey, foreboding skies. Huddled in her corner, the raindrops roll down the cheeks of her white mask and fall on leaves and stones. The ruin seems cold and desolate, not like the image she holds of it in her hands. In the kitchen, her mother is washing a Tupperware container, while in her room her daughter clutches the photograph. Mother continues with the washing up while daughter plumps large cushions on top of her already made bed. She makes her way down a staircase with a wooden banister and a wall with framed photographs step down to the ground floor. She strolls into a dining room and sits at a table with a white patterned tablecloth. In front of her, a cereal bowl. She turns as her mother wheels herself into the room to sit beside her. They fondly touch each other. As Tony pulls a white shirt over his scrawny frame, he and his mother ignore the ringing phone.
You're not in at the moment. Leave a message. We'll get back to you.
Hello, Mrs. Brown. It's Harold Braithwaite. Mr. Braithwaite, Tony's form teacher from school. A very good morning to you. I wonder if we might discuss your son's behaviour sometime soon. There have been yet more reported incidences of bullying from your son towards one of the younger pupils. I'd be very grateful if you could ring me at the school. Many thanks.
Tony hears the message, slips on a heavy pair of boots and toys with a football. Downstairs, smoke rises from the toaster. As Tony walks out of his bedroom, black-burned toast pops out of it. He walks down the narrow stairs as his mother tosses the burnt toast in the bin. She reaches for a pack of crisps.
You're late. There's your breakfast.
She flings them on the floor. He bends down and picks them up. He strides past without looking at her. In her bedroom, the girl stands in front of a mirror, primping her hair. Her mother looks on adoringly as the girl picks up her anorak-type jacket and slips it on. She opens the front door and leans down to kiss her mother, who strokes her gently. The girl bounces out of the house and her mother waves goodbye. The girl marches across the stone drive. At the same time, Tony leaves his house by its side door. He walks down the path and turns onto the pavement. He passes some roadworks. A couple of students see his approach and look away. Two people are sitting in wheelchairs, chatting. People congregate at a school as Tony tries to leapfrog a bollard. He walks slowly past a house with yellow walls. Tony continues on past a high-rise block of flats and a set of lock-up garages with some graffiti scrawled on them. All the students are wearing white shirts and most sport a red spotted tie. Some are walking, some are in wheelchairs, and one uses a Zimmer frame with wheels. They file in through white-framed glass double doors. As the school bell finishes, two guys hanging around outside finish off their cigarettes. Inside, the girl is in a dance class.
Step chain, and pivot, and turn.
The teacher watches the class's movements.
Arm to left, arm to right. Lovely, Emma. Another pivot from Helen.
The girl, Helen, pirouettes. The teacher rubs her head as Tony dances behind Emma.
Very good, Tony. Arm higher, Emma. Turn and hold. With my hand, back and hold.
Helen spins into a boy's arms.
Lift of the class, arms up. Where there's no pain, there's no gain.
A sign on a school window reads, "Exam in progress."
Okay, settle down, class. This will be a 2-hour exam. No talking, we need no interruptions. Thank you. Turn your paper over, put your name at the top, and start writing.
The students turn over the papers and Helen diligently starts writing, not so Tony, who cribs off the student next to him. One of the students sits deep in thought. Others, like Helen, are writing. Tony keeps on cribbing. Two work studiously as they write their answers as neatly as they can. The teacher reads a sheet of A4 paper in front of her as Tony scrunches up some paper and tosses it in Helen's direction. It hits her on the top of the head. The school refectory is filled with shelves of chocolates and sweets, bars of peppermint cream, packets of jelly beans, and lots more. Helen's first into the refectory, but as she goes to the counter, the guy behind her touches her shoulder. She wheels away and stands behind him. A student in a wheelchair bumps into her, so Helen goes to the back of the chair and its pusher. Everyone who comes in and joins the queue makes Helen give way to them. She finishes up right at the end of the line. Tony appears behind her and spins her out of his way. Everyone now served and seated, Helen takes a packet of crisps up to the counter and pays for them. She sits down. Tony races across and snatches them from her. The students throw the packet around the room. Tony pushes Helen away. She trips over a buffet and lies on the floor. He leans over her. She rolls away. She stands in front of him, head bowed, cupped hands out. Tony scatters the crisps over her dark hair, then laughs. Helen moves across to a bench sofa and sits down. She leans forward with her hand to her head. Tony stands watching her. She sits by herself, head bent low. Empty crisp packet in hand, she leans back on the sofa, her head pressed to it. Helen runs her hand through her hair, picking out the traces of crisps. Later, she stands outside a door, peering in through the small glass window in it. She pushes open the door and walks along a corridor, stopping to look behind her. She enters a ladies' toilet. Helen washes her hands, then starts as the door behind her bursts open and Tony walks in and grabs her. She struggles as he forces her into a cubicle. She tries to fight him off, but he thumps his hand against the wall. The girl with the Zimmer frame watches and does nothing. Helen breaks away. Other people are around, but no one comes to Helen's aid. They just watch as she continues her struggle with Tony, who has her wrists in his grasp. One leers at her as Tony grabs a handful of blue paper hand towels and throws them at her. Helen slithers down the corner wall of a cubicle. Grabbing more and more of the towels, Tony scatters them all over her, throwing them like big wads of confetti. She's left alone, huddled in the corner. She remembers him bursting in behind her and grabbing her. Squatting in her corner, Helen wraps her arms around herself. Alone, she sits on the floor and stretches out her legs. A group of students and teachers are out on the school playing fields. Tony and another guy are picking teams for a game. Helen is one of the two waiting to be picked. Tony shoves her out of his way to select the other student. Helen almost pleads with the other captain, but he won't pick her. Tony won't even look at her. Helen walks away forlornly as Tony bounces with joy. Tony flips a coin. They start playing with a big yellow football. Helen sits head bowed as the others enjoy their game. Tony takes the ball around a wheelchair-bound goalie and scores in the corner. As the bell goes, Helen stands alone. She stands outside in the playground. A wheelchair with a red frame and grey tyres makes its way slowly across a parquet floor. Andrea, with her Zimmer, turns a corner as Tony bustles into the corridor. The headmaster sits in his office in front of a computer and reads some notes. Helen marches up to the open door and knocks on it. The headmaster looks round at her. He turns his head away and reads his notes. Helen stands in the doorway gazing at him. He goes to his keyboard. Helen knocks again. Still receiving no response, she about turns and meanders down the corridor. Outside, she saunters through a car park. As she stands by a puddle, Tony leaps into it, splashing her. He dances a little jig. Helen sits on the ground cuddling her little pilot teddy bear. Tony comes up to her and grabs it. He tosses its flying helmet to one side and runs off with it, leaving Helen weeping. Tony at the football pushes her aside to choose the last student. The crisps rain on her head and through her cupped hands. She cowers in the corner of the cubicle as the paper towels cascade around her. Tony pushing her to the ground in the refectory. Helen runs down to an underpass on the A41, Tony close behind her. A student in a wheelchair blocks her route upstairs. In the underpass, fellow students converge on her. With all her escape routes blocked, Helen pulls out her mobile phone and frantically dials a number. Tony comes running up behind her and tries to grab the phone. They tussle and drop the phone, which skids across the floor to the wall. Helen tries to pick the phone up as Tony and his friends close in on her. She stands up.
I'm not taking it anymore.
In slow motion, Helen lashes out. Tony drops to his knees and crumples up into a ball near the wall. He remains bowed over on his knees by the wall, clutching his stomach, and doesn't lift up his head. No one moves to help him. Later, Tony walks away down the shadowy underpass, completely alone. Some people walk and others are wheeled back into Queen's Park School. Tony walks into a side room on his own and stands sheepishly behind the door, leaning against a counter. One of the masked people pushing someone along in a wheelchair stops and looks through the door into the side room, then moves on. Tony hangs his head. Helen looks through the door and sees Tony looking sad. Later, she's sitting on a bench in a leafy courtyard writing a letter.
Dear Tony, I wanted to say sorry for hurting you the other day. I didn't mean to hurt you so much. I don't want you to feel the way I have been feeling for so long. Nobody deserves to feel that bad, not even you. I would like us to be friends one day. Would you like to come flying with me and my dad? I love flying and will be going on Sunday. It would be great if you could come too. Helen.
Tony reads Helen's letter in the empty playground and scratches his head. A row of small fixed-wing planes are lined up at a local airport. A person in a wheelchair looks on as Helen's father leans on his cane and walks Helen and Tony to a small light aircraft. Tony and Helen are wearing fluorescent waistcoats. Helen's father's dressed in black trousers and a black top. Helen's father helps Helen to climb up onto the wing and open the aeroplane's side door. She climbs into the plane, which is white with thin brown and black stripes running along the length of it. Helen clambers into a seat in the back of the cockpit behind the pilot's chair, and then Tony follows her up onto the wing and settles into the seat beside her. Helen's father is the last to climb onto the wing and into the pilot's seat. He closes the door and starts the plane's propeller. A view from inside the little plane out of the front windows shows the propeller on the plane's nose cone whirring around. The plane taxis across a small runway and onto a big grassy field. It taxis past other similar light aircraft that are parked on the grass and stops opposite the control tower, which has a car park in front of it. The aeroplane, which has G-AYEE printed on the side of it, turns away from the tower and taxis back onto the runway. Tony and Helen gaze out of the windows as they are bumped about a bit in the back of the plane. They wait excitedly for it to take off. The little plane goes along faster and faster, then lifts off into the air. Helen's dad looks out of the window in his blank white mask. A view from inside the plane shows the control panel with all its switches and dials and the joystick that steers the plane. The view out of the plane's windows shows cloudy sky ahead and a patchwork of small fields and houses down below. The plane encounters a little more air turbulence and bumps about a bit. Tony and Helen look about them in the cockpit, and Helen's father checks the view out of the side window as they fly on. A view from below shows the little white plane flying close to the clouds. A message comes in from the radio control tower. The plane approaches the airport field again and touches back down on the grass. Helen's father steers the plane back towards the airport and parks it next to a row of similar aircraft, not far from the control tower. Helen's father opens the plane door and gets out. Then Helen climbs out onto the wing and gets down, followed by Tony. Helen trails her fingers along the plane as she, her dad and Tony walk away. Colourful disco lights flash at a party and a banner reads "End of Term Disco." Helen and her friends, some of whom are in wheelchairs, are on the dance floor enjoying the music and the lights. One person has headphones on and is manning the DJ decks and holding a microphone. Everyone is dancing to the music, including Helen, who jigs about in the centre of the busy dance floor and claps her hands. Everyone is dressed up for the party and are wearing their white masks. One person wears their spectacles outside their face mask. Helen is dressed in a white t-shirt and a pretty pink skirt. Tony arrives at the party and stands in the doorway under a bunch of colourful balloons, watching his friends getting down on the dance floor. Helen skips about merrily and the DJ, who's wearing the Technics headphones, bends over his equipment. The lights flash green, yellow, red and pink. Tony watches Helen dancing from the doorway. She jigs about, throwing her arms open wide. Tony disappears through the door and comes back holding Helen's little teddy bear in its leather flying jacket. Tony makes his way onto the dance floor and hands the teddy bear back to Helen. The moment is freeze-framed as the toy is passed over. Helen touches Tony's hand and he leaves her to dance around with her beloved teddy bear.
Sadly, we've reached the end of the Queen's Park School end of term disco. We're going to slow it right down now. It's time to find your partners. For the last track, it's Face to Face. Until next time, good night and God bless.
A bubble machine puffs a mass of bubbles onto the dance floor. They glitter in the light as they float through the air. Helen makes her way slowly over to where Tony is standing on the edge of the dance floor. She takes the much taller Tony by the hand and leads him onto the dance floor. They put their arms around each other and slow dance to the music. People on the dance floor gaze up at the bubbles which stream overhead, catching the light. Finally, Helen and Tony are the only couple left on the dance floor, turning in slow circles as the DJ plays out his last track. Helen hugs Tony close and they dance on. The screen fades to black. ITFC audio description was read by Aileen Downey and Lonnie Evans. Thank you to funders: Arts Council of England, Lottery Funding, Aylesbury Yale District Council, awards for all lottery funding for local groups, William Harding's charity, Friends of Jigsaw, including but not exclusively Tim Cooper Daler Limited, James Pettit & Co, Alvin Printwhistle, Elvis Christian and all the staff at the Checkers Inn Western Turville, John Bly, a host of small local businesses. All Jigsaw's company directors, staff, volunteers and actors. Actors: Bully Tony Tinch, Victim Helen Cookson, Victim's mother Jill Gahardy, Victim's father Vic Gahardy, Bully's mother Emma Brown, née Powell, Headmaster Lewis Rush, Teacher Lavinia Harris, Pupils Andrea Bone, Emma Nichols, Anne G, Michael Wright, Anne Thompson, Stephen Farrell, Jill Gahardy. Editor Paul Megram, Sound Malcolm Eames, Music Toilet Scene, Ce qui est vraiment non jamais vec, courtesy of Martin Gretsch. Directors Paul Megram and Jill Gahardy. The making of the DVD was supported by Queen's Park Centre, Pilot Flight Training Oxford, the Oxford Digital Video Company, Redfront, Talkback, Chiltern MS Centre, Riding for the Disabled at Ricketts Farm Pitchcott, Jan and Barry Wells, James McCaughey, ITFC. Making the big picture has meant everyone working much harder and longer than duty called for. The success and high standard achieved by the company for this DVD would not have been possible without all that extra effort and time. So thank you everyone for your excellent support and hard work. For more information, see Jigsaw's website at www.jigsawtheatre.org.uk. A Jigsaw production.